LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up faith. This pastor claims liberalism makes men gay. Conservative American pastor Dale Partridge responded to a video that featured right-wing influencer Kaitlin Bennett confronting a student protester at the University of Central Florida. The student was participating in a protest urging the university to become a, quote, sanctuary campus, end quote, protecting undocumented and international students from ICE detention. In his response to the video, Partridge said, quote, "Not only does liberalism make men gay, it makes them incapable of thinking, okay? Liberalism is just like feminized politics," end quote. Partridge has previously drawn criticism for anti-feminist and anti-transgender remarks. Earlier this year, he claimed feminism is, quote, a form of transgenderism, end quote, and argued it weakens men and damages families and communities. All right, Mr. Closet Case, you know, if I were seeing you on like Wilton Drive and I didn't know your hateful politics, I would think you were a good-looking guy and but once I know exactly who you are as ugly as sin, my friend. And we're queering up politics here, so I'm going to say this. I'm praying for you. I really am, and bless your heart, and I love that for you, but don't be bringing that hate near me. Do I think that, the university should be a sanctuary campus? Well, that framing doesn't sound so nice to me. But I definitely think that a school should be a safe place for all people. Mm-hmm. I definitely think that, Caitlin Collins, who's going out there and putting microphones in, college students' faces, students who have not practiced the arguments and are not as read up on the subjects as she is, to play gotcha with them. It's like, what are you doing with your life, Caitlin? It's just such a waste of God's beautiful energy that you should be living your life.
It reeks of Charlie Kirk. I
want to be careful with that because, there are some people that really do love Charlie Kirk, and we're going to have a lot of streets named after him. And it is very terrible what happened to him.
Of course.
So I want to have a little nuance with this just because we are in the state of Florida.
Yes.
And also because he was a human being, but he was also a human being that did dehumanize others. So
just to clarify my comment, in no way do I ever want to see violence or endorse that. What my comment referred to is who he was before the unfortunate.
A provocateur.
Yes. And looking at someone like Partridge, I think that, anyone out there, but the constituents that have supported him and he comes up for office in the future, think about what he said about feminized politics.
What does that mean, feminized politics? You don't like ladies?
But think about that, because some of the best, I think, leaders in our country or people w'ho've run have been women.
Remember the ladies. Remember the ladies.
Remember the women. And, we've had some great transgender people up and coming, Sarah McBride, just to name one that comes off.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I wish I knew more off the top of my head, but I know that there are very talented transgendered folks out there that are doing really great things in their community. You can agree, disagree. You could think one thing about gender, another thing about gender, but I think what we really we're missing the point is that people are people. And I am a person that assumes that when somebody, especially in political life, is coming out there in order to run for office or to do something for the community, they're doing it in good faith. Mm-hmm. And so whether or not you agree with transgendered people, quote unquote ideology, whatever it is, can we all just agree that as long as somebody is not hurting another person and they're not forcing you to change your gender, they're not forcing you to live their truth, can't we all just get along?
I agree. It's 100%.
And it's these people that want to call themselves pastors. I don't know who he's pastoring to, that would want to be led into, hate. It's just such a, hate is like rotting meat, and it attracts all the flies and the maggots, and and you just feed on it and feed on it, and I just want to say, clean up your diet a little bit, just clean it up.
It's gross. If you're representing, no matter what your religious identity is, you have an obligation to bring people together. And if you're attending any type of religious institution that doesn't promote unification and loving your neighbor, or the congregants, or people out there in the world, I think you're in the wrong place.
I mean, even not to bring the Catholic Church into this, because they're involved in a lot of things. Even the Catholic Church, who has doctrines against being gay, homosexuality, transgendered people, they're still getting with the times, in the ways that they possibly can. And I feel that it's the way that this pastor, and I'll use that in quotations, the way that this pastor is really approaching life is very retrograde. It's really, they're trying to take us backward. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to agree with everything, that's here. But it's about not going back and closing the door on other people. You could not understand something. You could say, well, I just don't get it, but okay, then don't get it. Yeah. But acknowledge that people exist, and that there are people that are living an experience and living a life that maybe you're not going to understand, you're not going to get it, but you recognize their humanity. Yeah. And I think that's what this person is really missing, is acknowledging others' humanity. And I think I think that should be cardinal sin number one.
Yeah, and maybe this is another individual, as we touched on some earlier stories, that has some control issues that maybe a good therapist could help him get in touch with. Well, that is an LGBTQ 1 Minute news story. There's no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.